All right, good evening, everyone. Thank you to all the candidates for joining us for this forum hosted by the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley and AARP of North Dakota. My name is Ashley Ladberry-Herchena. I'm the Vice President of the League of Women Voters of the Red River Valley, and I'll be the moderator for this forum. The forum is being live streamed and will be recorded for playback on the City of Fargo's PEG TV channel, which is TV Fargo 56. This recording will also be posted to our website and Facebook page. Editing of the posted recordings is authorized only for official media reporting. Edited clips may not be used for partisan purposes. The League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization that encourages informed and active participation in government, works to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and influences public policy through education and advocacy. If you would like to learn more about us or join the League of Women Voters, please visit our website or Facebook page. We want to extend a sincere thank you to the City of Fargo for providing the space and technical assistance for this evening's event, and to all of our volunteers for greeting, collecting questions, and for time keeping. We are really grateful for your help and couldn't do this without you. I also want to take a moment to highlight our 2026 voter guide at vote411.org. Many of you may have gotten vote411.org pens up at the booth at the front. Vote411 is a voter guide, essentially, online voter guide. You can find information about your polling location and get personalized ballot information to compare candidates to see who you are seeking to vote. I also want to give a huge thank you to all 5 of our mayoral candidates today as they have completed the questionnaires for vote411.org. So thank you, all of you, for completing that. We really appreciate it. And it's so helpful to the people in our community who maybe don't have time to come to an hour-long forum. Before we begin, I'd like to review the rules and procedures. Questions have been submitted by the public in person here tonight, and we already have a table full already. So questions may be screened for clarity or combined with other similar questions. All candidates will be given an opportunity to address each question, and each candidate will have 1 minute for opening statements. We'll start with Josh Boucher and then go down the line, and then each candidate will be allowed 1 minute to respond to each question. The first question, Denise Kolpak, will start with you, and then again, go down the line. And at the conclusion of the Q&A period, candidates will give another 1 minute for their closing remarks. The timer is right over here to indicate how much time is remaining and indicate when your time is done. When the 1 minute is over, you will hear the kind of beep or beep sounds. That means your time has expired. Please complete your sentence or thought so that we might move on to the next question or candidate. We really appreciate the audience consideration in maintaining a quiet room so that all candidates have the opportunity to answer their questions fully and in a timely manner. If you haven't yet done so, if you could silence your phones so that we can have a full attention on the candidates. And we'll begin opening statements with Josh Boucher, and then, as we said, proceed down the line. You can go ahead.
Well, good evening, and first of all, thank you to the League of Women Voters, AARP, for hosting tonight's event. It's always great to engage with the public. My name is Senator Josh Boucher. I've had the privilege of representing Fargo and Bismarck for the last 14 years. During that time, I've advocated for our community on behalf of a number of issues, specifically around housing affordability, homelessness, property tax relief, public safety, and been involved in times when we've had budget surpluses and budget deficits. I have the experience to understand a multi-billion-dollar budget and to bring people together to work towards the solutions for our community. Oftentimes, I've been working in difficult environments and been able to champion legislation that's important for our community and for the people throughout North Dakota. When I'm not in Bismarck, I serve as a real estate agent and a broker supervising 140 agents across the state of North Dakota. During my time as someone who helps people buy and sell homes, I've been in every every neighborhood throughout our community. I have a good understanding of our neighborhoods and why people choose where they live and what's of interest to them in each of those neighborhoods. I've spent the last 4 months of my campaign listening to folks. I hosted 4 listening sessions at the beginning of the campaign to hear specifically from folks about what they want for the future of Fargo. And they are looking for a collaborative leader. They want to make sure that their voices are heard in a city government that's responsive, not only in a reactive way, but also a proactive way. So I look forward to visiting with you all this evening and explain why I'm the best candidate for mayor.
All right, thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yeah, thank you very much to the League of Women Voters and AARP for hosting tonight's debate. I have been honored to serve as Fargo's Deputy Mayor and Commissioner for the last 4 years, and I absolutely love living in Fargo, and my job as mayor will be to make sure that everyone loves living here. First of all, Fargo has done some things really well, including best-in-class services for many years. And as mayor, we will continue to, but I will with a focus on fiscal responsibility. And to that end, I'll introduce zero-based budgeting, and I'll also work with the commissioners in the cabinet to identify clear strategic priorities as part of the budgeting process. Second, central to every decision needs to be public safety. And I'll work with the new police chief, who had an incredible interview today, to make sure we build on the progress we've made and elevate the community that's part of community policing. And last, it always comes down to relationships. As chair of the commission, I will work with each commissioner to work on and make sure that we start with facts, understand how decisions are made. Thank you.
I'm Dave Pepcorn. I've been a public servant for 16 years as a city commissioner. Every day is a listening tour for me. I listen to everybody all day. Their number one concern is property taxes. We've been growing multiple times the rate of inflation, and so to me, this election is an opportunity for the voters. It's an opportunity to cut your sales tax by 1%. It's an opportunity, if you vote for me, I will cut the mills by 1%. I will cut the utility fees, and so that's affordable housing, not just for a certain segment of our population, but the whole city of Fargo, and that's what we need. We've been overspending. We've got a Moody's downgrade. We have no fiscal discipline. We need a business person that starts making deals on behalf of the citizens of Fargo. We are paying for so many things for all of our neighbors, and we don't have the money to pay for it. And so I will restore fiscal discipline to our city government. Thank you.
Thank you. Mr. Sterling.
Good evening, everyone. Thank you for being here, and thanks to the League of Women Voters for putting together this debate. I'm Sekou Salif, and I'm running for mayor because I believe Fargo's future depends on somebody who leadership that listens, bring people together, plan responsibly, and deliver results. That's what Fargo has been lacking over the period, and that's what I bring. Apart from public service, I also coach competitive youth soccer with the U.S. Soccer Federation Tri-City, and alongside wonderful coaches like Jessica, Dave, and other wonderful coaches, we try to build discipline, inculcate discipline, responsibility, and leadership in young people, because that's what we need, and I support Fargo's future, and I believe this is the time that we come together as a city. If we can talk together, we can find solutions together. I don't think we are bereft of solutions. We just need to come together, talk together, and find solutions. And that's what I'm running, to bring people together. Thank you.
Thank you. All right, Michelle Turnberg.
Good evening, and thank you for being here. I grew up knowing Fargo as a place where you looked out for your neighbors, where streets were safe, where government focused on getting the basics right. You knew the snow would be cleared, the lights would be on, and that help would come if you needed it. That sense of reliability built trust, and that's what made this community special. Is Fargo still that way today in a lot of ways? Yes, we have a wonderful city staff that works very hard every single day to make Fargo the Midwest destination city that it is. Today, as our city grows, we cannot lose sight of those things. I'm running for mayor to bring us back to that foundation: strong, core city values, safe neighborhoods, and a city government that works for the people. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. For our first question, Denise Kolbeck, we'll start with you. So far, we have had many questions related to safety in the downtown area. And one of the questions that kind of summed up all was, how would you address safety downtown while maintaining the many nice commercial areas?
Thank you. Again, I referenced the interview today with the proposed new police chief, and I think you're going to see change coming very soon in how we are going to be approaching the collaboration, working with other departments, divisions, with the city, and with the local businesses. And again, that starts with relationship. But we also, when you look at the safety downtown, We need to be really clear on what the issues are we're trying to solve, and there isn't just one solution for a number of the complex problems. So again, we need, and I have been talking to the local businesses, understanding what their concerns are, the local residents, and city administration to acknowledge that we have an issue, that perception is reality, and we have to think about doing things differently to address those perception issues and deliver real results for the people who have invested in Fargo.
Thank you. We'll reset the timer here. All right, Dave Pepcorn.
So there's lots of issues that we need to do, and a lot of them are very simple. First of all, we've had leadership that's soft on crime. I will not be soft on crime. The first thing we're going to do is close the engagement center. That will be very beneficial. The next thing we're going to do is quit giving away heroin needles in downtown Fargo, where we have 3 million of them. I'm a property owner in downtown Fargo. They're everywhere. We can't have our kids outside at the library during the summer because there's so many people that are either intoxicated or have mental illness. We need to get them help. We don't need to enable them. And we have a whole list that I'm going to work with the police chief on. Some of them are easy, some are going to take some time. There's some laws that we just eliminated that we need to reinstate about public intoxication, loitering, and so there's lots of solutions, but it's going to take some time. Some will happen fast and some will happen slow, but if I'm the mayor the next day, you will notice a difference. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So Goose or Leaf?
Yeah, I think we have a problem with perception, data, and reality, and we need to address those because I listened to the current acting police chief, and he said our crime is down 10%. So that is good news, but the perception doesn't show that. So when I'm elected mayor, the way I can address myself to what's going on downtown is to meet with stakeholders, meet with the police chief, meet with business owners downtown, meet with the residents that live here, so that we know by hearing from them exactly where the perception is coming from. Is it that crime is down? Is it that crime is increasing? How do we fight it? Again, like I said, if we can bring people together and have a discussion, we can find solutions to some of these problems, and we might be able to change some of these negative perceptions, because some of these negative perceptions could be rooted in some other orientations, so we have to work on that. We need to sit together and talk together to find a way forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
Today was the best news we could have gotten in quite a while. So we will be getting a new police chief, a new police administration, which was sorely needed in this city. Our police force is below the national average. What I want to see is a focus on core services, which specifically means your safety, police, fire, and first responders. Our new police chief is wonderful. He is easy to sit down with. He wants to discuss. He's got great ideas, and this is a wonderful new forward step for the city of Fargo. We need to get more boots on the ground, have a larger presence of police in the city, not only in downtown, but throughout the city, to prevent all the racing that's going on in different areas of the city. So I'm very happy with the steps that we've taken, and you're going to see improvements going forward.
Thank you. Josh Boucher.
Thank you. As someone who spends most of his free time downtown, I certainly understand the concerns folks have. I think one thing that we certainly need to bring back is the foot patrols and the presence of law enforcement just engaging with the community. For those of you that have spent time downtown know that several years ago that disappeared, and so I'm hopeful with the new police chief that we can bring that back when officers are engaging with business owners, with people who are enjoying time downtown, providing resources to folks that need some assistance. The other thing we need to make sure is that law enforcement is enforcing the laws that are on the books. First of all, homelessness is not a crime. There are people who are homeless that are in our community, and they can enjoy downtown just as much as I can or any of you. But there are people who are preying on downtown folks, whether it's business owners or it's the homeless people themselves. And those are the folks that we need to make sure law enforcement are interacting with, that they're either getting the services they need or that they're being handled appropriately within the judicial system. So those would be some of the initial things that I would be looking to do.
Okay, thank you. All right, so our next question, Dave Pepcorn, will start with you. So many city employees are demoralized in part because of some of the leadership within the city. What would you do to help heal some of those relationships with city employees?
One of the things, there seems to be a misunderstanding that the city doesn't exist to employ people. The city government is to serve the citizens and the taxpayers. That's our priority. We have excellent staff. I can go down the list. We have excellent, and so that's not the issue. But the same thing that's going to happen is we're going to have to start reducing because, as we all know, budgets are tightening. We have, obviously with our downgrade, we're going to have to reduce spending ourselves on top of the state reducing spending. So we're going to have several challenges. You have to have an open door, which I've been a liaison for every department, I think, except fire in my 16 years. And we have excellent staff across the board. Whenever I contact them, they are excellent. So to me, that's not the issue. We just have to work together. But I do agree, we're going to have to do some freezing. We're going to have to do some reductions, and that will be a challenge. But in business, I've had to do it. Everyone here has had an experience with losing a job. That happens. Thank you.
Thank you. So Sirleaf.
You see, the answer you just heard is typical of City Hall. We don't listen. The question is, staff morale is low, people are not satisfied. And we never heard anything like, okay, maybe we sit with them and ask them what's going on and get to know exactly what they're going through. That is the problem with City Hall. City Hall is completely tune deaf, even to the staff that worked for them. And that is a problem. If they can't even listen to the staff that works for them, do you think they listen to the people in the city? No, they're not going to do that. That's why we need to chart a new course. That's why you need to elect me so that I can listen to our city staff, know what they are complaining about, know what's causing a low morale, know exactly what we can do for them. If we need to do anonymous tips so they can drop comments and say what they're going through, and if we can protect whistleblowers, if they can come up with issues. Maybe people are even afraid to talk about what's going on. So we need to listen. We need City Hall to listen. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
Well, that is not true. I have met hundreds of city staff over the past 2 years and have made countless new friends and connections, and we have a wonderful staff. Now, that city survey that was done was a bit confusing in leadership. What did that mean? Did that mean the directors of the departments, or did that mean elected officials? There are good and bad apples in every workforce. And I think it's imperative that we have personnel evaluations and get to know what the problems are, if it's leadership or if it's in the workforce, and get to rid of that problem and fix it. Thank you.
Thank you. Josh Boucher.
Our most important asset as a city is the people who work for us and serve us. And under the current commission, we have seen the morale go down, as proven through the employee engagement survey that was released last year. 30% of City of Fargo employees indicated that they were ready to leave at any time. That is not a good number for the people who deliver or pick up our garbage, who keep our streets clean, who clean the streets during the winter and keep us safe when we need them most. And so I think it's important that the dais represents, when we talk about whether it's leadership or it's department leadership, it starts at the dais. It starts with how we talk about those leaders and how we engage and support public employees at all levels. We may not agree with things that are happening in the department and might want to have conversations about how things can be done differently, but accusing employees from the dais of inappropriate behavior or challenging their leaders is just showing them why they need to continue to be timid and afraid to put their neck out to stand up for what's right.
Thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yeah, I've said for years that our number one asset is our people that work for the city of Fargo. Without people, we don't have services delivered. And 76% of our general operating fund pays for the people who deliver those services. And 70% of our employees took that employee engagement survey, and there has been a lot of work since by departments, some more than others, on how they're going to specifically address the concerns that were raised. And so we need to support city administration on implementing those findings and those recommendations and work with the entire cabinet. And last, yes, the survey was very clear that a lot of the demoralization comes from behavior up here, and was specifically called out by name a couple of commissioners in that behavior. It's up to the mayor as the chair of the board to use the gavel to enforce governance and protocol and lead those meetings with respect for everyone, but also with a very firm hand and using the gavel.
Any rebuttal?
Thank you. So we do not have, it is a forum, so not a debate format. Certainly, though, if there are things brought up during the Q&A session, you can address those at the end in your closing statement if you would like. So Kusirleaf, the next question will start with you for the answer, for the first answer. So we've had several questions related to kind of working together and bringing people together across the city. So if you were elected as mayor, how would you work with people who might have different opinions from yours, or perhaps a different approach to dealing with issues? Basically, how would you bring people together to help solve some of the issues that we're talking about tonight?
That's an interesting question, and I mean I can just piggyback off on the previous question. Democracy is about working together. We don't have to agree. We don't have to be buddy-buddy. But the city's future is the only constant. How we build a city that works for everybody, how we build a safe city, how we build a city that with affordable housing, how do we build a city that caters to the needs of our seniors and our veterans and our young people that are struggling. Poverty is at 12.8%. And anybody living between the ages of 18 and 34 are the poorest in our city. How do we come together to solve some of these problems? When I'm elected as mayor, I don't have to agree with you to listen to you. If we can listen together, we can agree together. And that's all that I'm saying. Let's bring all the stakeholders together. Let us bring the community together. Let's bring the partners together. Let's sit at the table and find a solution that can take Fargo forward and make Fargo a great city.
All right, thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
I think at this point in time, in our history especially, we are now more than ever different, pointing out our differences in our political beliefs, in our attitudes, and what we believe in, and that can be overwhelming to people. But the number one thing to remember with this is just to be professional. There are plenty of people, I'm sure, that have different opinions from me working in the city, but I wouldn't know because it doesn't matter to me. They are my equals. So I would find it hard pressed to find someone in the city that would say that they do not get along with me. I talk with everyone, whether it be the mayor down to department heads, workers, the custodial crew. Keeping everyone on an equal level and knowing that we're all the same and being professional is vital.
Thank you. Josh Boucher.
My entire career as a public servant has been in an environment where I've not necessarily been in the majority, but I've been successful at getting things done by working with everyone, trying to find those common values, those common goals, specifically around legislation that improves the quality of life for folks here in Fargo. Also being in the minority, I understand what it's like not to be listened to. So I bring that respect to the folks that I work with to make sure that, again, we're focused on the issues at hand and moving things forward. Secondly, as a real estate agent, my entire job is negotiation. Our common goal is to get across the finish line to make sure someone has a new home or someone has a home to sell. And so often there's conflict that comes up, there's negotiation that happens, but our goal is to get across the finish line and work through that. So compromise is a good thing. I grew up at a time in politics in which compromise was rewarded. And now we're at a time where everyone digs in their heels and tries to fight for their own agenda instead of moving things forward. So I'm an advocate of moving things forward by working together, collaborating, and finding those common ground where we can.
All right, thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yes, thank you. I pride myself in being very responsive as a commissioner who works for all Fargoans, regardless of politics or political party affiliation. And in my entire career, for 30 years, I worked in policy and advocacy in Bismarck and lobbied on different issues and topics. And I was very successful getting to conclusion and resolution. Number one, by showing up. Number two, by listening. And number three, by always being prepared with the facts. And if you really listen, I learned a long time ago, it's called to learn to squint with your ears when you're talking to somebody, to understand where they're coming from and what their point of view is. It goes a long way in developing common ground by which you can come to a resolution. I will share, yesterday I had a 45-minute conversation with I'm talking fast, with a North Fargo resident who, when we began the conversation, said, I don't know if we're going to agree on this issue. By the end of the conversation, he literally told me, this has truly been one of the most delightful conversations I've had. And so I consider that a win, and that's how I'll approach the job.
All right, thank you. Dave Pepcorn.
So in my 16 years, I've been both in the majority and the minority, and if I'm the mayor, I would have an open door. What's happened now, our current mayor excludes certain commissioners from everything. We are not included in anything, which is very poor leadership. My door would always be open and all the commissioners would be welcome. However, what I've learned is we don't all agree on everything. And when we have the vote, then you have the vote, and sometimes you're in the majority and sometimes you're not, and then life goes on. I don't think having us disagree with one another is a bad thing at all. That's, if we all agreed, then we really wouldn't need a commission. And so the main thing I would do is give everybody an opportunity to come in and all visit with each other. Right now, that is not happening, and it's not healthy for our city. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Michelle Turnberg, the next question will start with you. Okay, so we had several questions related to the budget, kind of looking at opposing sides. So one being, if there were cuts made in the budget, specifically what would you cut and why? And kind of weighing how this would potentially impact quality of life for people that live in the city. Or obviously the other perspective is that potentially taxes could be increased. And what parameters do you see around supporting tax increases for things like new projects?
So my philosophy is to focus on core city services. So what exactly that means is a service that you could not provide for yourself. That means public safety. You could not provide police protection or fire protection or emergency ambulance services. The water coming out of your faucet in the kitchen, the toilet that flushes, the streets that you drive on, the garbage that gets hauled away, your utilities. Those are all things that you cannot provide yourself. That is what the city needs to focus on. The city is not a bank. The city is not a nonprofit. We have almost 2,000 nonprofits in Fargo alone, not including West Fargo and Moorhead and the surrounding cities. 2,000 nonprofits in Fargo. So we need to focus on those core city services, and that will help fix our budget.
Thank you. Josh Boucher.
Excuse me. I think Fargoans really appreciate the services that are provided to them from the city. And so when we have conversations about cuts, those are challenging conversations. But we also have an expectation to live within our means and focus on the priorities. I think as mayor in the commission, our job is to set the budget priorities for the staff. We hire really good people to do the work in individual departments. And so for me, one of the starting points I've been talking about is starting the budget with a 1% increase over the next year. And then going back to the departments, and they find the priorities that they need within their department based on the feedback they get from the public to prioritize how that would work within our budget. They would be making the decisions on what needs to cut. We would not have a budget move forward without that, or beyond that 1% increase, so we can keep things in line and recalibrate a year going in. It's very important the city of Fargo shows Bismarck that we're able to work within our means so that when we go ask for additional money, there's resources available to us.
Thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yeah, as a reminder, the city submits a balanced budget every year, and that work is very hard and critical. And this just last week, we ended up from the last fiscal year putting $9 million back into the reserves, which will help that Moody's rating over time. And it's a requirement to get there. So in addition to zero-based budgeting, which is a very important time in our history, we're also going to have in total 3 new mayors. One of the things we need to continue to look at is ways for regionalization and collaboration as a region to address some of these larger challenges. And just also as a reminder, every city our size has debt, and you cannot save your way to infrastructure projects. It's kind of like a mortgage. You don't put down $350,000 to buy a house. You know that you're fiscally responsible to pay back that debt. And so just a plug for the infrastructure sales tax that's coming that pays for infrastructure across the city and has for 20 years. It's those kinds of programs and creative financing that we need to continue.
Thank you. Dave Pepcorn.
So actually, we're working on the budget right now for the city of Fargo. We have meetings on Monday. The interesting thing is the mayor proposes the budget. And so I will be proposing a budget with a reduction of 1 mil. And what you do is you meet with the leader of each department and say, here's your number. And then let them work on what they can do to meet that number. That's how it works. We have not done that. We've been spending way beyond our means, and not every city has a Moody's downgrade. So the annual budget for the city of Fargo is $140 million. Our debt is between $1.5 and $2 billion. If you went into a bank and you told them that's your budget and that's your debt, they would laugh you out of the bank if you were asking them. When you say that our finances are sound, that is absolutely false. Thank you.
All right, thank you. Soku Sirleaf.
Thank you. Taxation is a burden to every citizen anywhere. Not Fargo is not unique. And so when we talk about budgeting and taxation and cutting, these are things that matter to people. We need to first find out what is important, what is necessary, what is urgent. There are some things that I might want to do that the people don't think is very urgent, and we have to focus on those things that are urgent. I don't want to increase taxes that will create burden on the residents of Fargo. Everything I want to do is to insulate the people of Fargo from being overly taxed. But we have to look at the data. We have to find out where we are spending top dollars, what can we cut down. Our budget has to be targeted. Our budget has to be intentional. We cannot just keep funding pipe dreams and pet projects that feels good to people who sit up here. That is a burden on the residents of Fargo. So we need to do things that benefit our people.
All right, thank you. Okay, so the next question, Josh Bushy, we'll start with you. We had two questions that were similar that I'm going to combine together. What do you consider Fargo's greatest strengths or successes, and then also greatest weaknesses or potential obstacles?
Yeah, I think Fargo's greatest strength is that we're continuing to be a city that people are choosing to call home. We are a growing city. We are actually one of the fastest growing cities in the Midwest. We are the 11th most economically diverse community in the United States. We are a place that is just wonderful to live in. But with that creates challenges in our growth. And how do we sustain that growth and do that growth in a smart way? I think it's important that we use the Master Growth Plan as a tool to guide us, not only in our outward growth in greenfields as we grow south, especially as the diversion provides more land available to that, but also how do we prioritize infill or core neighborhoods and making sure that there's more development happening, whether it's single-family homes or it's apartments and commercial spaces, so that we can build density to put more property tax inside of the city where there's already existing services. So our asset is also creating some challenges, but I think they're challenges that we can overcome if we focus on the right path forward.
All right, thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yeah, our strength truly is our growth, and with that growth, it's the people and what makes Fargo special. And that includes Team Fargo, who delivers the services for the citizens of Fargo, and our attention to them. I think a couple things that are some of our challenges moving forward. Number one, it's what I've seen over the last couple of years with some of the behavior at the dais is the erosion of public trust that we're seeing across the city. And how do we continue to truly engage our citizens so that they are part of local government, that they have a voice, that they have a say, and we bring the government to them. I proposed adding quarterly community forums 3 years ago as part of our commenting and gathering of information with citizens. I would bring that back. And we would make sure that the weekly meetings with Team Fargo that are the mayoral cabinet meetings are the most important hour of the week.
All right, thank you. Dave Pepcorn.
So our demographics, what our strengths are, our demographics, we're much younger than the national average, our average age, and we're also higher educated than around the nation. And so one of the key advantages we have in our region is higher education. We have new students coming in here every year, not just at NDSU, but Moorhead, Concordia, the tech schools. So we have people coming to Fargo every year. New people, and not all of them want to stay in Fargo for multiple reasons, but the more that we can keep because of economic growth to keep coming here. That's why internships, things such as that, are very important. I also think, so obviously our incentives, we are going to have to reform those, but we have to keep drawing businesses to come to Fargo. And if we don't offer incentives, large companies look at incentives. That's one of the main things they look at. And if we aren't offering any, they just move on to the next city. So I agree we need to reform them, but we need to keep them in place. Thank you.
Thank you. So Sirleaf.
I think Fargo is a wonderful place, and our strength is built on our faith. It's a community, it's a city of faith, our families, and our community. Those are strengths for Fargo. Also, the steady 2% growth that Fargo has been experiencing is a strength that we can build on. However, there are weaknesses. Every growing city has strengths and challenges and weaknesses, and one of our weaknesses is leadership that is tone deaf, that don't even listen. You even heard that staff are complaining morale is low, and nobody here will even acknowledge their concern. They just dismiss it, that they shouldn't complain. Is the problem with the data? Is the problem with the whatever was done? So that is a weakness. Also, another weakness is the massive brain drain that we are experiencing. Fargo is a college town, and every year, right now we're in graduation season. Every year we graduate young professionals, but they are not staying in Fargo. They graduate, they leave town because we're not providing incentives that will make them to get a job, start a family, and live here. So those are some of the weaknesses.
Thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
I think one of our strengths is that everyone in this room lives in Fargo despite the weather. We stay here because we want to be here. It's a place where generations live. My family has been in the region since the 1850s, and I want my children to want to stay here as well. But I think the most important thing is that we need to feel safe in our community. I want to feel safe in my home. I want to feel safe in my neighborhood. I want to feel safe in my workplace. And we are under the national average of police per resident. That needs to change. We need to have better public safety, better police presence, and we are on the way to doing that with our new police administration, our new police chief, and things will be improving immediately.
All right, thank you. Denise Kolpak, the next question will start with you. How will you increase transparency and give people a voice in city government?
Yeah, I just spoke to that, the community forum idea, but we need to continue with the public comment, which now, by the way, has been statutorily required at the last legislative session, that we have consistency at meetings as well. But as I said, we have to think differently about how we bring government to the people, and that will include maybe meetings at different times. And so what I would like to do, as I mentioned, those community forums and engagement, is not only have topics with staff there, so we have a real dialogue and engagement, and we're going to continue to build on that Q&A for all residents. But we have a tool that's underutilized now in the city called Zen City, where it's a platform where we can ask burning questions of any issue, collect the information quickly, and then be able to act on it and have actionable steps that result from that. And so we already have the tool, we already have the way. Let's leverage what we had and get true community input on issues.
Thank you. Dave Pepcorn.
I think what we're doing tonight is a great example, and obviously when we were doing the search for the new convention center, all those meetings were in public online, and so people have an opportunity. So I think this is great what we're doing. We need to do more of that. I think we do as much as we can, and obviously all of us, people contact us all the time. If they have specific questions, our staff gets an answer very quickly. So obviously we can do more. But I think the other thing is we have a limited budget. We have so many committees now that we have to reduce that because they all cost money. We have to have productive committees, and right now we have over 60. We need to reduce that just because we can't afford continuing to do that. Thank you.
Thank you. And so Sirleaf.
Thank you. Thank you. I believe in representative government. You see, I believe we need to transition our government from a city commission to a city council. I believe every district should be represented here at City Hall. That will bring about some form of transparency. I think in January, I tried to contact the various commissioners to have meeting with them about the ending of three commissions, the Human Rights Commission, Arts and Culture, and Native American Commission. I needed to have consultation with some of these commissioners. Since July, I wrote Commissioner Pepcorn. Till date, I have not got any response from him. If we have representative government, if we have every ward, we create a ward system like South Dakota, like Moorhead, like Grand Forks, we can be closer to our leaders than it is right now. So that's the way we can do that. Thank you.
Thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
We have a system set up right now where every single person in the city can reach out to any one of the commissioners or mayor at any time, and we will get back to you. You can communicate with whomever you choose, whoever you align with, whoever you think will meet your interests. That is totally your call. I think the most important thing that needs to happen is residents need to be engaged. We absolutely need to be a part of the process. Everyone here tonight is doing that. And the most important thing we can do is get out and exercise your voice, have your voice heard, and vote. Vote at every election. If you don't vote, you really should not have the opportunity to complain, because that is your opportunity to express your voice, have your beliefs heard, and have your say in how your city, your state, and your country is run.
Thank you. Josh Boucher.
One of my favorite parts of being an elected representative is the ability to engage with the folks I serve. In a lot of the theory that's been talked about, the things that people will do, I've been living. During our legislative session, once a month on a Saturday morning, we host community forums so that we can engage with people that live in our district and live throughout Fargo, so we can hear from them and share what we're doing in Bismarck. The last 4 months, as part of my campaign, I have been out doing listening sessions, talking to folks, hearing from them within their own neighborhoods, modeling how I would lead as a mayor. We continue to hear, specifically in areas of South Fargo, that they feel left behind by this city. Now, a lot of conversations have to deal with downtown, whether the issues with economic development and homelessness, and the Civic Center is driving a lot of that conversation. But at the same time, there are real issues happening in those neighborhoods and those communities. What I continue to hear as I campaign, whether knocking on people's doors or holding those listening sessions, is that the city doesn't come to them to ask them or give them forewarning when things are happening. That would change if I were mayor.
All right, thank you. So Dave Pepcorn, the next question will begin with you. So I had a couple of questions related to housing and the cost of housing. So how would you help address the housing crisis, specifically stabilizing the rising cost of housing, including rent, which is contributing to the issues related to homelessness in Fargo?
I talked a little bit at the beginning about that. So the main solution is to quit raising property taxes, which is what we've done multiple times the rate of inflation. And so what I'm going to propose is we're going to reduce the mill one mill next year, and we would reduce it another mill the next year, and so on. That helps affordability for everybody. The other thing that we did was we raised our utility fees as a city from 2% to 4%. I voted against that. I would reduce that as well. That helps affordability for everybody. Obviously, we want to have workforce housing in the downtown, and we have excellent groups like the Fargo Housing Authority, Beyond Shelter, that the city works with, and so we need to be a part of that. And obviously, the state helps us with that, and we need to get more of those projects. But affordability for everybody. What's happening now is we're raising our property taxes, and we're pushing people with fixed incomes out of their houses because of our overspending. Thank you.
Thank you. So Kusarleaf.
Thank you. The final price of a house is built up on so many things. Delay permits, unclear requirements, high specials, rising material costs, and uncertainties all contribute to the final price of a house. So we need to get rid of some of those uncertainties. We need to be able to open up the corridor so that permits can be granted within time. We need to remove any bottleneck that prohibits or hinders our construction process. Our builders need their permits and other things. So anything that hampers growth, anything that hampers the speedy development of our city should be removed. And City Hall keep slow walking so many things. Small businesses and major developers, they all face the same issues. So we need to address some of those issues, like special assessment and other things. Let's build a South Dakota.
Okay, thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
We need to make buying a home more transparent. Fargo is so unique in the fact that we have specials. Ask anyone who moves here from another city, what is a special? They're blown away and don't quite understand what is going on. It makes the cost of a home not quite reality and can make some home buyers overbuy a home. And all of a sudden, you've got an extra $50,000 bill that you weren't quite aware of, that's included in the price of your home. I think we need to get rid of specials and have that included in the price of the home so the actual home price is transparent and people know what they're purchasing. We need to have sustainable, predictable taxes. We don't need to have surprises every year with property taxes and specials, and especially assessments. Who here got an assessment letter this year and was shocked? I'm sure I wasn't the only one. So that needs to stop. Thank you.
Thank you. And Josh Boucher.
One of the first things I'd like to do when elected mayor is to put together an affordable housing task force where we bring renters, homeowners, property managers, developers together, city staff, and talk about the true cost of housing and what that means here in Fargo, whether you're renting your home or you're buying your home. And then I want that task force to provide clear, measurable outcomes for us as the commission to evaluate what levers we can pull to make sure that housing is more affordable. There's been discussion before by the commission to enact a rental registry. I'd like to continue that conversation, would propose that as a way for us to make sure that if someone is renting their home, it's safe, that there are tools that we can, as a city, make sure that we enforce with landlords, property managers, and investors. We continue to hear, as I have done my listening sessions around the fact that people's, not only their rent is going up, but they're getting assessed secondary utility charges for vacant units or the hallway utilities. Those are some practices that just continue to impact people's ability to live where they are, and I think we need to find ways to alleviate some of that.
Thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yeah, our housing crisis has happened over many years, and many of sitting up here have been serving as we've experienced that. And we have a METRICOG study sitting on a shelf that was supported by our planning department that has yet to be addressed. And step number one for me, similar to a task force, would be to get the right experts in the room and start looking at what are those recommendations as part of that METRICOG study, led by people from the City Hall, again, the entire cabinet determining that it's a priority, but working with the Housing Authority and working with Beyond Shelter, Habitat for Humanity, Fargo Cascade Land Trust, and Churches United along the way with some of their projects. But we also need to leverage the power and the authority that exists in the metro with our area legislators and all elected officials and meet regularly and together tackle these regional problems.
Okay, thank you. So Kuserleif, the next question will begin with you. What is your plan for community policing that will have police working with communities and their leaders?
Thank you. I think policing, we need to do several things. I need to sit with the police chief and let us come up with programs on how we can do. I want us to go back to the days of community policing. I want us to go back to the days where police officers know people by name in the community that they police. People in the community know police officers by name. I want police officers to be respected, but I also want the rights, the civil and human rights of citizens not to be violated by police officers. All of us are in this together. Safety does not depend only on police officers. I think we can also strengthen families. We can help to create programs for young people that are always in trouble from time to time. There's so many things we can do. We need to come together as a community to have a conversation on policing. Policing doesn't just begin, public safety doesn't just begin with flooding the street with police officers. There are so many things that we can do to strengthen families, strengthen communities, and it will help make the job of police officers easier.
Thank you. Michelle Turnberg.
This is why it's so exciting that we are going to have a new police chief. We're already doing this. The problem is that Fargo is below the national average. I've said this before, but we are at 1.4 officers per 1,000 residents. That's 201 sworn officers. Fargo needs to be at, and this is according to our chief, 1.6 officers per 1,000. That means 226 officers. We are 25 officers short. If we have a military action anytime soon where we have reserves called up, we would be in desperate need of anyone on the streets. You have family leave, you have medical leave, you have disability, you have military service. We need more boots on the ground. And community policing is already in place. It will be expanded and it will grow with this new administration.
Okay, thank you. Josh Boucher.
Part of community policing is building relationships, and I think that'll be an important part of the leadership with our next police chief, and continue to expand what we're already doing within different neighborhoods. It's been great to see over the last 6 months or a year the neighborhood beat meetings that have happened where citizens have been able to come in their neighborhood to visit with law enforcement, to understand the issues happening in their community, and be a part of the resolution of some of the challenges. We're seeing different issues in different neighborhoods, and we're seeing common issues across the entire city. But through that community policing of building relationships, continuing the dialogue, will help us all feel safer and make sure that we're a part of the solution. Furthermore, there's an opportunity to engage with neighborhood associations and community organizations that are headquartered in various neighborhoods. I think all of us can think of certain neighborhoods in this community where we would say we would feel less safe, or we have perceptions about who lives there. Those are opportunities for us to build up and invest in those communities by investing in housing, investing in relationships, and make sure that those are safe, affordable places for people to live.
Thank you. Denise Kolpak.
Yeah, I've had the opportunity over the past 4 years to have 6 different ride-alongs with the police department, and I can tell you that community that's part of community and policing is very much ingrained into the culture of the police department and has been for many, many years. So how do we, obviously there's always opportunity for improvement. We've continued to add more police officers each year that I've been here as a commissioner. That needs to continue in a smart way with smart growth. You'll see and hear more about relationships from the new police chief. He just talked about it today in his interview, about his commitment to collaborate not only with area law enforcement in other cities, but also with the state's attorney, with area legislators, and the commissioners, and the mayor, and to have conversations regularly with every single city department, because every single one of them is connected. And I will add that truly that is the culture across the city, is one of community and of service. And so how do we leverage those relationships across the board?
Thank you. Dave Pepcorn.
So our police department, unfortunately, under the leadership of Dave Zabalski, was decimated. Our top leadership, the top 25%, are all gone. And so it's going to take us years to recover. What we have to rebuild the culture of, and what we have now is the veterans are 2 years, and they're training the rookies. And so the new chief, or the interim chief, and maybe the new chief has a plan to bring back some of those to try to instill some of the culture. None of those people are going to come back and work for the city of Fargo. They've all found other jobs. Just think of that. Our top 25% veterans have all left. And so it's going to take us years to recover. And what we've had is leadership that's soft on crime. It's decimated our downtown. We need to bring back law and order, and we will. And so I'm looking forward to it, and that's why I hope you vote for me for mayor. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So looking at the clock, we have about 7 minutes left, which is not quite enough time for one whole question plus closing statements. So I'm going to try something a little different. So we had a question that is basically a yes or no question, but I'm going to give a little bit of a civics lesson first before asking it, just for everyone in the audience, because I think as commissioners or people involved in city government, you are aware, but just so our audience is kind of up to date on what's happening. And then we'll do maybe just like a yes or no if you support or do not, and just briefly why or why not, like maybe each person 10 seconds. So hopefully we can stick to that format. So there has been a push in Fargo to change our structure of government Right now, we have a commission, as people have talked about tonight. We have 3 commissioners here with us tonight. So our commissioners are also elected at large. So everyone in Fargo votes for all of the commissioners, and they serve the entire community. We can contrast this, for example, to like Moorhead, where they have a ward system, where it's more like a legislative district in a sense, where there's, a communities or kind of neighborhoods that are a ward, and everyone in Ward 1 votes for a representative to represent them on the council for Ward 1. So it's a slightly different structure. Like, you can have the same number of people, but it's just divided differently. So with that being something that has been kind of an effort here in Fargo, Michelle Turnberg, we'll start with you. Do you support or oppose moving to a ward-based structure in the future? And like I said, if you could just give maybe 10 seconds of a response. And timer, if you could just start so people can kind of see how much time has come off the clock. We'll give this a try, and if it doesn't work, I promise I'll never do it again. Michelle Turnberg, if you go ahead.
No, I do not support moving to wards. It's going to be tragically expensive to do so, and we're trying to fix our budget. And I will also say the flood of 97, Grand Forks interward fighting lost the battle.
Oh, all right. Thank you. All right. Josh Boucher.
Yes, I think it'll drive increased engagement with citizens, and it'll also make sure that every neighborhood across the community has a voice at this dais.
All right. Thank you. Denise Kolpak.
No, but I support adding 2 more commissioners at large right now with the growth of the city, and it's to ensure that we have the best candidates running across the city.
All right. Thank you.
I support maintaining the current system.
All right. Thanks, Dave Pepcorn. So Surly.
Yes, I support ward-based because right now we're the only major city, any city 100,000 and above that still runs city commission. This is the time, it's long overdue. We have to transition the city to a city council.
All right. Thank you. Excellent job. And if you don't mind, I think Michelle Turnberg will end with closing statements, starting with you, since that was not a full answer in effect, if that seems fair to everyone. Okay. All right. So we'll do a minute for closing statements, and then we'll kind of wrap up this forum. Michelle Turnberg.
When I talk about getting back to core city services, I mean focusing on the fundamentals that every resident relies on every single day. I want our police, fire, and first responders to be fully supported and not have to rely on a half-cent sales tax or passing the boot at fundraisers. I want our streets to continue to be efficiently maintained during the summer and plowed during the winter. I want our infrastructure and utilities to be cost-effective and transparent. I want our public spaces safe and accessible to visitors and residents alike. I want our growth to continue, but in a way that does not result in over $1 billion in debt. I want our airport to be filled with travelers visiting the Midwest and a taste of what our culture has to offer. I want our residents to live comfortably in their homes without fear of getting a letter saying that their property taxes and home assessments have doubled. I want to get rid of specials and make home buying easier and the buyer knowing what they can get. Thank you.
All right. Thank you. Josh Boucher.
I love Fargo. It's been such an honor to represent this community in Bismarck the last 14 years. But I'm asking you to bring me home. I'm asking you to bring my leadership that I've taken to Bismarck on behalf of our community and bring it right here to City Hall. I've shown that I'm a leader who engages our community, who collaborates with others, and focuses on the priorities impacting our community. And it would be a privilege to serve as your next mayor and take us to the next level. There are a lot of great things happening in our city, and I think we can take it to the next level if we work together, engage one another, and focus on the issues that are important to each and every one of you. Thank you.
Thank you. Denise Kolpak.
I love Fargo too, and as mayor, my job is to make sure you do too. And do you want your mayor, who I think is the #1 ambassador of this amazing city, to be someone who calls our city a crap hole, or uses scare tactics for political gain, or requires on-the-job training? I hope you want someone who over the past 4 years has been truly getting to know city operations and issues. Someone who knows the art of compromise to get the best results for everyone. I'll be a mayor who inspires good, one who clearly sees we can always do better while celebrating our success, one who practically finds solutions but never loses sight that at the end of it is a citizen paying taxes. I know our city, I know how it works, and I know what needs to be done. And that's why I'm asking for your vote, not to be the mayor, but to be your mayor. Please vote June 9th for Denise Kolpak.
All right, thank you. Dave
I love
Pepcorn.
Fargo. I'm born and raised in Fargo. My 2 sons live in Fargo. My oldest son's sitting in the back. This is a great place. I love being a public servant. I've been one for 16 years. I love being a public servant. This is an opportunity for all you taxpayers out there. If you want to lower your taxes, this is your election, because number one, you can vote to lower your sales tax by 1%. And do you know what happens with that money? You get to decide where to spend it. And if you vote for me for mayor, I'll lower your property taxes $1 million a year for each year. I'll lower your utility bills 1%, and we'll hopefully lower that every year too. This is your opportunity. We have 2 commissioners, 2 new commissioners to vote for, and a mayor. We can change the path that we're on. Please vote for me, Dave Pepcorn. I have a website, Dave Pepcorn for mayor, and it's on Vote 411 with the league with your group. So thank you very much for doing that. Thank you.
Thank you. So, Koo Sirleaf.
Thank you, League of Women Voters, and all of us here. Thank you, League of Women Voters, and all of us here tonight. As we witnessed tonight, and we've witnessed in every other debate, there has been no accountability, no acknowledgement. It's always deflection. Everybody here putting the blame on Mayor Mahoney. I'm surprised that Michelle, Denise, and Dave Pepcorn believe Mayor Mahoney is responsible for all the problems when they themselves have 1 vote on the city council, on the city commission. So they could have used their 1 vote to change things in the city. Now they want to run for mayor and tell you what they can do. Why didn't they do that when they were city commissioner? Anybody who fails as a city commissioner will fail as a mayor, because you still have 1 vote even when you become mayor. That's why we cannot trust all this gaslighting. You need to vote for me, because I'm here to bring people together. I see these 3 commissioners as the arsonists that burned down the building, and now they're asking for a contract to remodel the building. We're not going to remodel Fargo. We want to rebuild Fargo. We need somebody you can trust. You need a leadership that listens, that brings people together, and we can do it together and build a Fargo for all. Thank you.
All right, thank you. So that concludes our forum for the mayoral race. This was the first forum this evening. We'll take a short break here and then be back for, I believe it's the city commission race after this. Yep, thanks, Sandy. Just want to remind everyone to vote on June 9th and to check out Vote 411 for more candidate information and to learn where to go to vote and what you need to bring with you. Let's give our candidates a round of applause. Thank you.
Good evening. My name is Barb Hedrick. I'm a volunteer. I don't have, there it is. How's that? Okay. My name is Barb Hedrick. I'm with the League of Women Voters. I'll be the moderator for this candidate forum. We appreciate your presence here. We also would like to thank our co-sponsor, the AARP of North Dakota. This forum is being streamed live and will be recorded for playback on the City of Fargo's government PEG TV channel, TV Fargo 56. This recording will also be posted on our website, YouTube channel, and Facebook channel. Now, this candidate forum exists to provide the public with an opportunity to hear candidates discuss the issues that are important to members of the public. The views expressed in each forum are those of the candidates, not those of the League of Women Voters or the AARP of North Dakota. League of Women Voters post complete, unedited recordings of forums. Editing is authorized only for official media reporting. Excerpts or edited clips of candidate forums may not be used for partisan political purposes. Because the League of Women Voters is a nonpartisan political organization, that we are here to encourage informed and active participation in government, work to increase understanding of major public policy issues, and the influence of public policy through education and advocacy. If you'd like to learn about us, please visit our website through lwvindy.org and then look for your local league at the Red River Valley, and also see our Facebook page. We'd also, as always, like to thank the City of Fargo for providing the wonderful City Commission chamber and the city staff here who are helping us run this and providing technical assistance as we do it. We also appreciate all of our volunteers who will be gathering your questions. When you have a question, you can write it on a card, just hold it up, and somebody will gather it up, and we'll get to as many of them as we can. I also would like to point out, we do have a voter's guide up called vote411.org. If you go to that website, type in your address, it will give you all the candidates that will be on the ballot and the measures as well. And I want to encourage all candidates who have not yet filled out the questions for Vote 411 to do so as quickly as possible, because we will be obnoxious and call you and ask. So here are the rules for tonight's candidate forum. Questions are submitted by the public here tonight and will be screened only for clarity or combined with similar questions because of time, and all candidates will be given an opportunity to address each question. Each candidate will have 1 minute for an opening statement, which will then be allowed 1 minute to respond to each question. And at the conclusion, we will also have a 1 minute closing statement. The timer is up on the wall and will go off, have a bell go off to let you know when your time has expired. We thank the audience for their consideration in maintaining a quiet room so that all candidates have the opportunity to answer their questions fully and in a timely manner. And so we will start tonight with the opening statement of Derek Arneson.
Thank you very much for having this forum and inviting us here to do this. Little introduction here. Probably most of you don't know me. My name is Derek Arneson. This is the first time I ever ran for any public office, so it's all kind of new to me. It's been kind of fun and exciting, a little terrifying, I won't lie, but it's getting it all under control. Grew up in Fargo. I'm from Longfellow neighborhood originally. I currently live in Hawthorne, over by Island Park. I've been there for about 26 years. Professionally, I'm an IT professional, project manager, done servers, networking, you name it. Basically, if it's IT, I've probably been involved or touched it at some point. Big part of that was obviously when you start out in IT, you learn support, where you get to deal with everyone's fires and everyone being upset at you. So go ahead, you can yell at me. I'll take it. So, but thank you.
Thank you. Scott Brecky.
Yes, thank you very much for hosting this event. My name is Scott Brecky. I'm a resident and proud to say I was born in Fargo, also that my parents are from Fargo as well.
Oops. Sorry about that.
I swear I did not curse. That's enough out of you. So proud to say that my family is from Fargo. Professionally, I come from big box retail. I did 26 years of big box management, where I had budgets anywhere from $70 to $100 million, with anywhere from 250 to 350 employees that directly reported to me. Personally, been married and with my wife for 27 years. I have two daughters, a 22-year-old and a 17-year-old. My 22-year-old just graduated from NDSU, and my 17-year-old's in high school. Currently, I am in sales. I have the ability now where I've always been a strong believer in being involved in the community. I've been on the Fargo Volunteer Liquor Board for the last 3 years, and with my current position, allows me a lot more work-life balance to go to take this next chapter and to run for this position. So thank you very much for having me.
Thank you. Nikki Gullickson.
Thank you. Thank you to the League of Women Voters and AARP of North Dakota for having us in tonight. That's just great. I'm running for a seat on the Fargo Commission because I'm proud of Fargo and I believe in the future of Fargo. I've spent my entire adult life here. I've been here for over 35 years. I have raised a family here. I have worked here in businesses large and small, and I currently serve on the Fargo School Board. I'm in the middle of my second term. My husband is here tonight, and I also have 3 kids. One is a sophomore at UND, one is graduating at Davies this year, and I have a sophomore at Davies. I believe in Fargo. We have so much opportunity here. We have a little bit of everything. We have manufacturing. We are a tech hub. We have an active arts community, we have low employment, and Fargo is growing. I believe in respecting each other and working as a team. Everyone brings value. Everyone has had different experiences that they can bring to the table and share with us. Ooh. Okay.
Thank you. Aaron Hill.
Thank you very much to the League of Women Voters for having us. This is a great event. Appreciate coming here. So my name is Aaron Hill. I was born in Minot, moved to Fargo when I was 12. I graduated from Shanley High School, went on to St. John's University outside of St. Cloud, Minnesota, studied political science, ended up coming back to Fargo. Kind of my first real job was at United Way of Cass Clay in resource development fundraising. Then I went and got my master's degree in strategic leadership from the University of Mary. While I was reffing basketball, and my wife was pregnant with our first child, and then my friend moved back from Portland, Oregon with a business plan to start Fargo Brewing Company. So when I turned 30 years old, I went full-time at Fargo Brewing. I worked there for about 10 years. Then about 3.5 years ago, got my real estate license, and I'm a commercial real estate agent with Goldmark Commercial Real Estate. I was elected to the park board 4 years ago, so my term concludes in June, and I am looking forward to the rest of this debate. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna Johnson.
Boy, that minute goes by fast, doesn't it? So thanks for everybody for coming. I really appreciate the opportunity to get to talk to you guys. Most of you know me as a mural artist. I have lots of murals in town that I'm really proud of. I also am a truck driver professionally, but I recently stepped away from that to really focus on my career as an artist and open my own studio space. So as a small business owner, I know a lot about what it takes to succeed in this town, and I hope that I can use this knowledge going forward to really work for you guys in this community. I'm not a career politician. I'm just like you guys, and that's what makes me just like you guys. Thanks again for coming. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Chad Peterson.
Thank you. Thank you for the time. Again, my name is Chad Peterson, running for Fargo City Commission, as you well know. I am a Longfellow Lion, Ben Franklin Bobcat, Fargo North Spartan, NDSU Bison. Graduated with a degree in architecture from NDSU, immediately bought a fourplex apartment building upon my graduation, ended up owning portion of a architectural engineering firm. A couple of years later, wound up following that with, again, purchasing multifamily commercial property. I've owned businesses for the better part of 3 decades. Started my first business in 8th grade. So my private sector experience, I think, is pretty vast. Public sector. Served for 12 years in the county commission, but prior to that I served decades on multiple panels, boards, committees, commissions, and nonprofits, sort of honing the trade of how to govern, how to speak, how to make decisions. In my 12 years of serving at the Cass County level, I chaired the board for 10 of the 12 years. Normally that rotates once every 5 years, so you get the opportunity to chair once in a while, but my peers thought me quality enough to run for the 10, and I'm out of time, so God bless you all.
Thank you. Jeremy Schaefer.
Well, hello, everybody. Again, appreciate it for League of Women Voters of Red River Valley and AARP. So I'm probably the youngest person who is here. I'm 29 years old. If elected, I will still be 29 at that time, so that'll be fun. I'll be in my 20s with it. But I'm originally an Army kid. I'm from Bismarck, moved around a whole lot. I'm a graduate of West Fargo High School, Packers, 2014. Honestly, I love Fargo. I love the people, and I love God. I'm running for this because over this last year, some of you may have known me as the window tint petition guy. That's kind of important because I was out there meeting and chatting with many of people. I got over 10,000 signatures on my own. Other people know me as a free karaoke dude, so my number one thing right now I want to do is actually increase the young voter base of actually showing up to come vote, because there is more of them than there are of younger people, so that's kind of my main way of campaigning for them. And I'm going to promise y'all more energy, and I can't be bought out from anybody.
Thank you. So we'll start the first question with Scott Brecky. And do you all mind if I just use your first names from now on to speed things? Don't beat me. How do you see the job of a city commissioner? Scott, we start with you.
Well, from watching and attending the city commission meetings, I think it's going to be very important, especially with this election, on potentially, at least 2, but even potentially even a 3rd city commission, and then also if we do go to a ward system. I think in the last several years, there's been a lot of either 4-1 votes, 3-2, and then we've gone from, I guess, where you look at some of the previous conversations with the mayors where it was called out where sometimes the city commissioners are a little bit too brash and a little bit not is getting along as well as possibly. I think if you look up here, there's a lot of good people that I've had a brief time to get to know these people a little bit, and I think that's the most important thing is just to be able to get along civilly.
Thank you. Nikki?
Thank you. I see the job of a city commissioner as collaborative and teamwork, and I mean that inside and outside of City Hall. I believe that that has to do with our community. I've met with small businesses, I've met with different organizations, I've met with departments within City Hall, and I believe we need a teamwork approach. Everybody brings value. We need to rely on the experts for the data. We need to work together as a team to evaluate that data and make the best decision for Fargo moving forward.
Thank you. Aaron?
I see it as high-level leadership, the 60,000-foot view. Our job is to work specifically with the would be the director of the city or the general manager, Michael Redlinger, and we would serve as obviously liaisons to certain departments. I think that would be important, but ultimately we need to work with the staff. We need to trust the staff. We need to let them do their job. We need to support them. As Nikki kind of said, they're the experts, and I know I've done this at the Park District. When I got elected to the Park District, it was a little kind of dysfunctional at the board level, and I think it's sort of creating clear structures for what the commissioners do, what they should do. If something comes into us, what do we do with it? Where do we send it? How do we interact with each other? And ultimately, if you think about it, whoever ends up as commissioners, we have the same vote. It's kind of the same power. The mayor has different job responsibilities outside of the commissioners, but then our job is to eventually vote when it gets up to that top level.
Thank you. Anna?
Repeat the question for me.
How do you see the job of a city commissioner?
Well, I think the number one thing that we as commissioners need to think about for our job is supporting the city staff, right? Like, that's how we get most of what we get done. And then the other thing is to listen to our community. We're not listening to the community right now. Everybody is unhappy with the commissioners, and why is that? Because they're not listening to you guys. And I think that, to me, is the most important part of the job, is to find out what people think is the most important thing in our city. It's not what I think, it's what you guys think.
Thank you. Chad?
Thank you for the question. I think it's an easy answer. Service and availability. I've said repeatedly over my career, I'm not the smartest person in the room, but I'm well informed. Over my 12 years, I missed 3 meetings. And I say 3 because I know I missed 2. I don't remember what the third one would have been, but I'm going to cover myself in case I forgot one. It's incredibly important to be in attendance at these meetings, to be informed as to the decisions that are going forward. And that means subcommittee meetings too. It's not just your city council meetings, it's your subcommittee meetings. You need to be able to engage with not just your team internally within your city hall, but externally with the population at large too. I know we're getting rid of, or the proposal is to get rid of a number of the committees and panels and boards that are within the city proper. I think that's okay as long as your new commissioners become available. If you just simply get rid of the boards and the commissioners aren't available, those people don't have an opportunity to voice their concerns. And that's the service aspect. You have to understand that you're volunteering your time, and that's a good thing. And I'm at a minute, so I'll stop.
Thank you, Jeremy.
So I believe the job really comes down to, we're the people's worker. At the end of the day, when there's big votes that go on for the city, it comes down to us, and the people are looking at us in the ways that we go ahead and the ways that we vote. And then, second to that is not only before it even comes to a vote, but when things are coming through the pipeline as the commissioner, once you actually know about it, to engage with your citizens as far as, as best as you can, because the city is quite large as it is. And then along with the staff that does all the work that they do to put all the numbers together to make it coherent for when you actually have to come to a vote with it. If anyone's actually came to one of the city meetings, my vision that I see for it is that, man, this room would be so packed out that people couldn't be in here, and people would have to be in the hallway watching on the screen to be able to see what's going on, because people are so invested in what's happening. And when you actually see what the city puts together when they bring a presentation to the commission, Michael Redlinger does a great job of making it coherent and being able to actually, hey, this is what's going on, and I think that's just great.
Thank you. Derek?
Well, for the city commission, I see the job really as it's city management. We've got to work together as a team to make sure the city is moving in the right direction. I don't see it as a super political role. I see it, like I said, more management. Would be here to basically guide the city where the citizens want it to move. The whole overall goal is to improve the city, make it better than what it was before. With a project management background, what you'd really do in project management is you get a bunch of groups together. They might have different goals or different things they really want themselves, but you get them working together to find a specific goal that they're going to accomplish together, and you overcome any differences. I'm very good at doing that, and I think that would be something I could bring to this job.
Thank you. For the next question, we'll start with you, Nikki. What do you think is the single biggest problem facing Fargo? What would you do about it?
That is a complex question almost right out of the gate. Single biggest problem, we have several. Single biggest problem. I'm going to go with public perception maybe being the single biggest problem, because people believe that our finances are in trouble. People believe there's not a solution to homelessness and drug use. I think what I would do about it would be education, because all the research that I've done about it shows me that those things aren't true. We hear things about our downtown that simply aren't true. Again, that's public perception. There's a lot of things we can do. We can bring people together and we can educate. We can bring professionals and experts to the table, and we can tackle this problem all together as a team if we get the right voices around the table.
Thank you. Aaron? Go ahead.
Thank you. There are quite a few challenges, of course, but I think one of the biggest challenges is also the biggest opportunity, and that is the growth of the city. And I've seen this at the Park District level too, where we aren't a small town anymore, and it isn't kind of this. We're not Mayberry. It's a bigger city. We're becoming a bigger urban community, and that can be a really big challenge for everybody to kind of accept that change and that growth. And I think we have to be able to grow in a smart way, and I think we have to be able to develop relationships with internal stakeholders, external stakeholders as well. And I think it just takes a different style of leadership. And I think that's where it comes down to working with the staff, being that, asking questions, being curious, finding solutions, getting the right people in the room, and acknowledging that we don't know everything, but we're going to sure try and we're going to find out. Thank you.
Anna?
I think the biggest issue that we have right now is housing. I think that housing affordability and accessibility is the biggest issue. There's too many Fargo residents are struggling to find housing that they can afford. And that's the young people coming in and the working class families and everybody in between. The cost of available housing is a real barrier. And we talk about that. What does affordable housing actually mean? We really need to take a look at that, because when we talk about affordable housing, it's not the $1,500 apartments that everybody keeps talking about. That's not affordable. And when we talk about that, we need to be more realistic for what the people in our community actually need. And that is what accessibility is. I think that it's the thing I hear the most from the people in our community. It really is. And it's the biggest priority for me, next to the homeless problem. That's the other one.
Thank you. Chad?
So the city has a lot of problems, but none of them are catastrophic. The city hall is not collapsing. We're not going bankrupt. The world's not ending. All the little things that can be worked on, or all the little things that are perceived as bad can be worked on and fixed. I think everything starts with the budget. The transparency within the budget is a problem. When I was a county commissioner, I could tell you the number of bullets I could buy, the number of bullets my sheriff bought, and the type of round they were. I could tell you how many gallons of gas we budgeted for and the gallon of gas cost based on that volume. Within the Fargo City budget, the transparency is not there. It's blocks of dollars. You essentially start at a baseline of expenditures from the prior year, and then you grow from there. I'm not entirely sure that that's the best way to do budgeting. You don't do that at your house. You don't do that with your kids, anyone in your family. So I think the most important part would be getting into the budget, getting into the details of it, finding out where the dollars are, and from there you make the little fixes that can be, again, I think solvable.
Jeremy?
So I see kind of two things with this. One is the budget that everyone's been talking about. The reason why the budget matters like that is when the city gets to a certain point, I don't remember what the exact number is, the state will come in and then take over the city's budget because it essentially says, you don't know what you're doing. They're going to do whatever they have to do to essentially balance it. And we don't want that to happen because it doesn't matter how they run it, they're going to go ahead and run it. Second thing to that is as I've been out having my conversations with people, and again, specifically like young people or just anyone across the board, is them thinking that their voice doesn't matter or that, oh, I had no idea this is going on with the city. So I think one of the largest things is to have more citizen engagement, whether that be people actually showing up, people of the commission coming out and chatting with them, or what have you. Those are my two things.
Thank you. Derek?
I think probably one of the biggest hurdles that city has is just managing the growth. We need to find a better way to, make sure we are getting the affordable housing that people need. Much like Anna was saying, there is a lot of people, when I walked around town talking to people, that was one of the biggest things I heard from a lot of people was I can't afford an apartment anymore. I had to move back home with my mom, or things along those lines. When I sold my house a few years back, I had a starter home. It was a small house. It's in an old neighborhood. I originally bought it for under $100,000. I sold it well over $200,000, if I remember correctly. It was way outside the price range for any new home buyer. So we really need to look at that growth management. How can we continue to grow the city, bring in that affordable housing, and make sure that our finances are going to be stable for not even just the next few years, but how we're going to manage the growth. When the growth starts slowing, how we're going to manage the finances at that point, how we're going to keep the city affordable and with money in the coffers to do what we need to do to manage the city.
Thank you. Scott?
Yeah, if I remember the question, it was identifying what it was and then what we were going to do for it. So I think just one little spoke in the wheel here, if we look at accountability, coming from a retail background. A few years ago, we were at about 700 reports of shoplifting in retail in the area with a 38% arrest on that. We're up to 1,400 reports, that's just reports, and down to an 18% of arrests. Now, what happens when you have an excessive amount of loss in a retail establishment? Some of these retail businesses, by the way, are losing over $2 million a year in unaccounted for merchandise. What that happens is that dollar amount goes against new jobs, wages for those future employees, and it also affects the inflation for, let's say, housing products, et cetera, because the retailer will have to raise the prices. And that's what's affecting why the building is so costly now versus it was 10 years ago.
Thank you. Thank you. Next question, we start with Aaron. How will you increase financial transparency so the public will understand funding priorities?
Well, that's a great question. Transparency is so critical in any sort of public entity and public organization. And I think it's, I think we just need to make sure that we're engaging with the community and that we're sharing. I think one of the things I see that the city doesn't do very well either is sort of explain where the money is going, why are we spending the money, and thinking about it as more of an investment instead of kind of spending. But I think I think we can have certain open forums, different meetings, making sure we're publishing our minutes online. We're making sure that as commissioners, we're available for any questions at any time. If someone comes into us, if someone comes in to me at the Park District, I make sure I get our financial team. And if I don't know the answer to the question, I make sure I find out the answer to the question and make sure that people understand what we're doing and try to make sure that we're getting rid of some of the assumptions that people have.
Thank you. Anna?
What was the question again?
How will you increase financial transparency so the public will understand funding priorities?
I think, first, that's a great question. And I think one of the things I took away was it this week or last week when we had our informational session here at City Hall, was how much information that they gave us and how transparent they were with us as candidates. and that information exists, and how great it would be if we could just share it. And I think transparency on that level is the key to this. So if we have good information, like say, one of the statistics that it just really sticks out to me is the police chief said that crime overall is down 10% this year. And I feel like, why aren't we telling everybody this? Like, if you guys knew this, would we think that crime is really bad right now? Probably not. You'd probably go, oh, wow, they're doing a really good job.
Thank you. Chad?
I will do exactly what I did for 12 years at the Cass County Courthouse. As I described to you earlier, I could tell you how many bullets we bought every year. It's not that level of detail, that level of minutia that's important. What's important is the people that are making the decisions understand why they're doing it. So you could come to me, or my word was always defensible. When someone approaches me in public and says, why did you do X, Y, or Z? Because I have that level of detail given to me as a commissioner, I can explain to you as to why I made the decision I did. That's what matters. That's the transparency aspect. It's not just simply voting yes or no on something. It's understanding why you're voting yes or no on something and being able to explain why you voted yes or no on something. Referencing back to my first start with the attendance, being present matters because you're educated. We have too many people in public office right now that simply phone it in, do their best because they're busy, don't know, whatever excuse they may have. You should be able to approach me, ask me a specific question. I should be able to identify the choice I made in specifics regard to the budget.
Thank you. Jeremy?
So on the website, the budget is fully accessible for anybody to go ahead and take a look at it. Now, the thing about it, though, and this is kind of cool for me, I was looking at the property tax for the state because the assessor's office puts all that information in there. The only thing about it, though, is they don't break down the amount of how they get to the certain numbers. So I went ahead and actually spoke with the head of the assessor's department. He broke it down for me, so it made a lot more sense. So really what I think would kind of be helpful is if some things in the budget, it's completely transparent, but if it could be broken down to, hey, this is what this actually is and this is what this actually is. The property tax one, for example, in the state as a whole, there's about $19 billion worth of property taxes that can be collected. The state actually only can take $800 million, but for the city as a whole, we only have, I believe it was about 80 million that we could, no, that's not right. 30 million that we could use, but there was a whole algorithm how that was actually broken down. He explained that to me, so I think that would be a nice thing that could actually be included into the budget.
Thank you. Derek?
I think Jeremy had a good point there about, the budget's there for you to look at, but it's not really broken down. There's these large buckets that are out there that we can see, but really where's that money individually going to? How did that bucket get created? I think that would be a really good piece for transparency. Overall, too, it's just being engaged with the people if they have the question to answer it as to why we made the decision. I think those are probably the biggest things.
Scott? You wait for our time. There we go.
Yeah, from looking at the budget online, it is somewhat transparent. I come from the background of a private sector where you could dive deep into when it says supplies. Okay, you can dive into that and see exactly what's in that budget, whether it's staples, whether it's paper, no matter what it is. We have some departments now that have $628,000 for their budget for general supplies. And then if you look back a couple of years ago, it was $7,000. And then a different department will have a budget for, let's say, $5,000 a few years ago, but now all of a sudden they have a budget for $50,000 in general supplies. What is that? I mean, right now, as a citizen, you can't look in there and see what it is. So I think it's very transparent. So when the city commission has their assignments, whether it's the police, fire, et cetera, on what those dollar amounts are so they can be transparent. It could be legit, maybe it's not.
Thank you. Nikki?
Thank you. Access and accountability and making it easier to understand those things. And that may be just as simple as asking more questions when we are in meetings. Sometimes the budget stuff is really tricky to understand. I would like an opportunity to be in front of the public. Perhaps it is an open forum or a meeting. I've talked about this before. I've also offered people the opportunity to come back and meet again I want to be accessible to them, so when they have questions, I too like to be accountable. I like to explain why I took the actions that I did. Also, if people understand the pros and the cons, it makes it much more easier to understand why that decision was made. It doesn't mean we'll always agree, but you should always have the why.
Thank you. So with the next question, Anna, you start with you, and it simply says, do you support the convention center?
Yeah, I support There, unmuted myself. Yeah, I support the convention center, but I still think it's important that we really have the conversation about where it goes, because that's the more important part, don't you think? I think we have to really think about if we're building something from the ground up, or if we're going to have something that already exists, and what does that look like? And I think that's the most important conversation to be having right now, because of the differences that we're having in the conversation with Bruhala and the downtown, the old City Hall. And I think that there are merits to both, and to really spend some time looking at that and talking with the people who really worked on this project to really figure out what the best thing is for us to do. Because, you know, they say downtown doesn't have enough places, like hotel spaces, and do we have enough parking? And those are real questions and concerns, but does Bruhala? I don't know.
Thank you. Chad?
Easy answer, yes. So the voters wanted this. It passed with a majority of support, so we need to do something. I think we've been missing this middling convention client, you could call it, I suppose, over the last couple decades. But that doesn't mean you give carte blanche to just building a widget somewhere and saying, we'll make it work. The struggle is, I think, the process was a little bit cumbersome. I think it might have been flawed in a couple areas. In particular, the last conversation I think everyone's privy to regarding the financing package. But that aside, the most important takeaway, I think, is A, providing the building in the most logical spot to ensure that we don't wind up having to backfill this with general fund dollars, because this thing could very easily become a burden and start bleeding the general fund. And that's what I think some of us have talked about, myself in particular. The budget is where all the problems start and evolve from. So if we wind up having to dedicate $250,000, $1 million, X amount of dollars every year to fund this facility, over time it will eat us alive.
Thank you. Jeremy?
As the proposal sits right now, no, I'm not in support of it. The biggest thing, honestly, being cost that's associated with it. Myself as a voter, I remember when this came up on the ballot, the way I read it, I was under the understanding once this passed and the tax was actually put into practice that there would be a fund already being saved up to go ahead and build this, not waiting until the actual proposal went through and then the collecting of this tax. Because if that was the case, we should already have a decent amount of money for it now, but there's actually no set aside money for it because that tax doesn't take effect until a proposal's actually approved for the building. So it would be kind of sitting behind where we should actually be as far as the building goes with it.
Thank you. Derek?
Right now, no, I do not approve of it. I think it's really comes down to the financial reasoning. I think Fargo right now has some other things we want to concentrate on financially, just to make sure we're going to be solvent and for long term in the future. So right now, no.
Thank you. Scott?
As of right now, I'd like to see it open up to other locations, not even just the 4 locations that I was at, but out of the 9 locations, I think there was a few other ones that potentially got overlooked. I don't think that this is going to be something that is going to be solved in the very near future. I believe we have until 2028 and until a decision has to be made. I think the main thing for the taxpayers is to know that it's not going to come back on them. This next election, we're going to find out if the 1% sales tax is going to go through. We're going to see who's going to be on this commission. And I think that it's going to take a long time before we get the proposals. And I think it's going to be pretty fluid until then. But I would definitely support if it's in the right location. I think right now it would be nice out of the $229,000 it costs us to keep the Civic Center open every year. It'd be nice if that location could get some revenue, but then again, it makes it so much difficult to have certain events at that location. So lot to be learned.
Thank you. Nikki?
Yes, I do support the convention center coming in. It's been voted on. The voters want it. We've got a way to pay for it. I hear a lot of concern about will it make money? I don't know that I'm as concerned about it making money as I am about it breaking even. And the reason is because when we bring people to town, those people are going to shop, they're going to stay in hotels, they're going to eat, they're going to fill their car with gas. They might visit the zoo, all different kinds of things. It's an economic engine. It brings people into this town, and in large numbers, we need to have it. I don't want it to fall on the taxpayers. I am interested to see the financial situation that we are going to have. But if we can make all of those things work, I absolutely support it.
Aaron?
I very much support the convention center, and I think it's long overdue. And obviously, the citizens of Fargo voted for it and approved it. As Nikki said, tourism not only brings in revenue, but that is a vehicle for us to bring people to the community and eventually, possibly, at some point, live in the community. We have a massive workforce shortage. Talk to any employer in this community, and they can't find employees. So what are we going to do to try to help and bring people to this community? We have to make sure that we do it in the right way and do it as I kind of agree with Nikki that, break even should be the goal. But I like living in a community that believes in itself. It is a risk. I was on the park board when we approved the second phase of the sports center. Similar thing, right? Should we be doing this? This is a lot of money. This is a big risk. Yes, it is. But generations from now, 10, 20, 30 years from now, people are going to look back and say, thank you for doing that. Look what it's done for our community. Very similar to the Fargo Dome too, right? So many people were against that. And look what that's done for our community. Thank you.
Thank you. The next question, we start with Chad. How would you address the lack of affordable housing?
Low, stable tax rates. I don't know that it's the government's role to jump in and start subsidizing things as we have in the past to some degree. When I sat on the county commission for 12 years, we were supportive of low-income elderly housing when they made sense, but simply throwing government money at a handful of developers may not be the best interest. I think long-term, like I said, my takeaway is low, predictable taxation. That gets people into housing. The other thing is we allow our developers to do market-driven construction. Right now, the land development code's in a space of evolution where some developers are concerned, others are less concerned. But I think now is the time to reinvent maybe the way we've done things, allowing our builders more flexibility, allowing people to build actually affordable homes instead of constricting the hose. We have two messages happening simultaneously. Build affordable housing, and then we're putting hurdles in the way of building affordable housing. We need to streamline the path and let people build what the market wants.
Thank you. Jeremy?
So on the commission, what's actually viable for what you can do is I see it in two different ways. One, you can keep the property taxes low because that'll also help with the housing with it. And then the other one is to have a proportional growth plan with the city because as the city expands and grows into new places and has to put new infrastructure into new areas, that costs money. The faster that you do that before you actually have money that's coming in to take care of what you already have, you're going to already be over budget by spending that. So then that's going to translate to the housing cost because it's going to cost more to go ahead and build this new stuff, put in the infrastructure for it, and then that gets passed down to who's ever renting, owning, or living in the space.
Thank you. Derek?
I think to address affordable housing, one of the biggest things we have to do is look at a lot of the older neighborhoods. They have already the structure for affordable housing. They have the infrastructure already there. We just need to find a way to keep those houses in a spot where people can afford them, whether that be working more with the state for some of the new home buyer programs they have, or two, just in general, as we do plan the growth in new neighborhoods and so on, we do need to make sure there is a balance, proper balance for the affordable housing, along with some of the more luxury housing that we see go out there quite a bit. It's something that I think we probably need to really focus more in on is, again, like I said, revitalization of the older neighborhoods.
Thank you. Scott?
I 100% agree with revitalizing the neighborhoods. The neighborhood I grew up by, Roosevelt, a lot of those homes were built in the early 1900s, and as far as going in there and trying to remodel them or make them better, it's almost be more cost effective to tear them down and build them again. And a lot of those neighborhoods are also zoned for apartment buildings and multiple dwellings. So if you look further south, the reason that a lot of the cost of housing goes up so much, it's you're building on premium farmland. And we got about 6 miles of undeveloped land that is currently being farmed. And without just to buy the land, put in infrastructure, it's going to be extremely expensive. So I think the opportunity is in these neighborhoods, right, even several blocks from us right now, looking at those houses and seeing what we can do to build in new houses. But
Thank you. Nikki?
Thank you. My number one question is, what exactly is affordable? We had this discussion earlier today when we met with the realtors. There's a lot of different things we can do. We keep hearing about we need to build new buildings, we need to put people in them. I'm not convinced that we need to build new buildings. These gentlemen are right. People move on to bigger homes. We have smaller homes available. Are we wiser to invest in infill? It might be knocking them down. It might be remodeling. We need to kind of get out of the box with that. We need to review what other cities are doing that could be working. I'd like to bring in contractors, housing experts, to have a discussion about what can we do, how can we do it, how can we make this work. I think it's going to take a group of us to put a dent in this. We are over 16,000 units short from the last report that I read to providing reasonable, affordable housing, whatever that may be.
Thank you. Aaron?
I think the timing is right with the land development code work in progress right now and the city's growth plan. And I think we need to work with our planning department. I think we need to work with local developers. And I think, as has already been mentioned, I think infill and repurposing buildings, I think is going to be a great way. If we have existing areas that have blighted homes or areas like that can be torn down and redeveloped, we may have to incentivize some of that. So how can we get more fourplexes, sixplexes, eightplexes? I think it's really, really important for people to own their own home. I think that not only kind of cements them in the community, but obviously they're going to take pride. They're going to start building equity. If they get a home for under $200,000, they build equity into it. Now they can sell that and use the proceeds for a down payment in a bigger home. So I think it's really, really critical that we work on this. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna?
Yeah, I think incentivizing our workforce and affordable housing development is the key to this. I think the market alone isn't going to solve this problem. The city needs to look at using the tools available to us, and like tax incentives and the land policies and the partnerships with developers and nonprofits, and actively encourage the kind of housing that working people and families can afford. And what does that mean when we talk about affordable housing? And also, we need to remember that not everybody wants to own a house, and so infill is important. We need to think about why people live where they live, and yes, it is important that we do offer these things to people who want them, the incentives for first-time homeowners, but we also need to think about the people who really just need a place to live. And that's important too.
Thank you. Next question, Jeremy, we start with you. How will you protect our resources from AI data center developers?
Oof.
I just read.
You say no. Obviously, it's up to the landowners if they're going to sell out to any of those developers if they want to have it there. I suppose that's the first conversation is you have with them to educate them if you know that that type of deal comes up to them, and if they have trust in their city government to say, hey, I had this come up, I'm not really sure about this, do you know about it? We go ahead and say no about it, and then they can go back to the developer and say no. Or on the flip side, actually, it's funny you bring this up. I just seen a video this morning. I can't remember what state it was in, but they're offering them $27 million to build an AI center on their land, and they've had it there for 3-4 generations, and they said no. They could have just walked away and never thought about having to worry about money ever again, but it mattered more to keep their land in their family's name and not sell out, so I'd say no.
Thank you. Derek?
So AI farms, this is sort of touches an area I know a little bit more about. One of the big things is, we would have to definitely look at what kind of power consumption they're going to be having, what's the draw going to be, what type of additional infrastructure needs to be brought in, what's going to be the impact on that. Is it going to affect a neighborhood? Is it going to affect the power, cost of power just because it's drawing so much? Those are things we'd have to look at and figure out what the impact would be. Another big one, everyone talks about the water usages with the AI plants too. That has actually gone down quite a bit. They still are a big use of the water system, but they have more closed systems now where they actually can vent off that heat elsewhere. So it would be something we'd have to watch and work with any AI developers that came in to make sure they are doing it in a safe way that doesn't impact our environment.
Thank you. Scott?
Being a lot of these locations are going into smaller communities, I could see that if a community that did not want to have it, they would just simply go to the next one, and it'd be very hard for a community to pass up on all that tax revenue and all that revenue going into it. So I can see why these smaller communities are getting these targets of these AIs. So I think as Fargo representatives need to work with, for example, Harwood to see what the regulations or what requirements are and to find out. Now, it sounds like they're using their own separate water for the one in Harwood and whatnot. But anything that could potentially be either harmful or beneficial, whatever that looks like, I think it just needs to be an open dialogue. And we all know that there was a little bit of a concern there with that issue.
Thank you. Nikki?
This was a question I certainly did not expect. I've heard all the things that everybody has mentioned, the power consumption, the neighborhood impact, the water usage. I'm looking at it from a different angle. It's going to bring jobs. It's going to bring people to town. It's going to sell homes. It's going to provide a number of different things that would be good for our economy. So I feel like we need to find a way to make this work. And the first person that does is probably going to have an economic boom because of it. Yeah, I'm sorry, it's not something I expected to come.
Thank you. Aaron?
So I'm also on the Xcel Energy Advisory Board, and this was one of my kind of curious questions at one of our last meetings. And the reason why these areas are looking at North Dakota is because we have the power, we have access to the power, and we also have the climate for it. So cooler weather, colder weather works much better for these data centers. So that's a reason. And we have the space, right? We have, well, looking at North Dakota, we have 780,000 people in the entire state of North Dakota. So that's why they're looking here. Now, one of my questions in one of these meetings was, what happens if we build all of these things and there's all this power infrastructure, all these buildings, these are massive buildings, and then in 10 years, 15 years, everything shifts and changes. Now we just have all of this infrastructure just kind of dead and sitting there. And at least according to the answers I received was they do work out sort of kind of clawbacks if something like that happens to help kind of mitigate some of the risks. But otherwise, yeah, again, the tax, I'll just say thanks.
Thank you. Anna?
Yeah, I think I'm going to say something a little bit more controversial than everybody else because we know that this is a big issue. And there are lots of communities that have already experienced a lot of problems related to these data centers. And yes, there are jobs. How many jobs? Is it worth it? Some of these communities say no. And I think the conversation is really being brought back to us. We need to have these thoughtful conversations about what we as a community want before we do something irreparable that we can't go back and change. These are huge decisions to make with our environment, with our water, with our electricity. We know our electricity and utilities are going up. We know water is scarce. We don't know what the future holds for these data centers. We just don't. And I think that I need a little bit more information before I go all in.
Thank you. Chad?
This answer is surprisingly easy. It doesn't matter if it's an AI center, a hog processing plant, or a soybean plant. It's studying the impacts to your neighbors. It has to do with infrastructure. Can we even support whatever widget it is? I don't care if it's a manufacturing facility, AI facility, and to Mr. Hill's comment, they actually come in with bonding to ensure that cost doesn't get carried over to clients in the future. Regardless of that, that's what matters. That's why the land development code is matter. That's why it matters putting people in office that understand how to process things, not just in a simple, move the widget from A to B, but thinking 3, 5, 10 years down the road, what's going to be the impact over time, again, regardless of whether it's an AI, meaning heavy water usage, it's closed loops, there's really not the water usage you used to have, or heavy power, as Aaron implied, what happens when it closes. So it's understanding the long-term impact of whatever you approve as a city commission and the impact on all your neighbors. That's the takeaway on this.
Thank you. We've only got time for closing statements left. I would like to thank all the audience members who gave me these big stack of questions I didn't have time to get to. And I do encourage you to talk to the candidates while they're here or email them and get your questions answered that way. I also, again, encourage the candidates to go on to Vote 411. Look for that email with your invite so you can fill out a few questions that we have that we've put forward for you so more people can see that. And I've got to do one more thing before I start the closing statements with Derek, and that, as many of you have probably noticed, we are missing one candidate here tonight. Tony Gehrig was called out of town on short notice, and so he did send this statement to be read at this forum. The city of Fargo needs to do 6 things in order to get back on track. 1, balance the budget, no more deficit spending. 2, pay down debt. We are $1.3 billion in debt and it grows every year. This is unsustainable and will bring down our city. 3, end all assessments. Our biggest driver of debt is assessments. They are unnecessarily and harmful. 4, end all incentives. We can't end assessments if we don't end incentives. We have abused this system and have made owning a home unaffordable for many residents. 5, put the needs of Fargo over the wants. Yes, that means no convention center when we are $1.3 billion in debt. 6, define the role of local government. We can't be all things to all people. We can try and we can spend like crazy, and that's where we are today. So, Derek, 1 minute for a closing statement.
Thank you again for hosting this. I really appreciate the opportunity to be here. I guess biggest reason I'm running for City Commission is, 1, I love Fargo. I've been here my whole life. I want to see it succeed. I want to see it succeed in the future. I want the City Commission to work together as a cohesive unit, not fighting with each other. And I think with a lot of my skill sets, I can get that happening again. I can work with the different departments. I can let the experts of the departments do their jobs, and I can make sure that everything's moving forward for the collective good. So, thank you.
Thank you. Scott?
Just first, I'd just like to make one complaint that not only did Aaron get the middle chair, but then he also has the number 1 on the ballot. You know, he's in first place, so I don't know how he got that figured out, but thank you very much for having me here, and I appreciate this. Very simple for my closing remarks is I believe strongly in accountability. I believe in straightforward as far as coming from a business background as a budget and holding people accountable to that budget and holding people accountable to their actions. I believe that Fargo is in an area right now where we've attracted a lot of business and a lot of jobs, and we've continued to grow, and our biggest opportunity right now is retain that. We need to retain the people, we need to retain the business, and that's through accountability, and that's through having a very strong police department, and that's by having a very good leadership, and I would appreciate your vote on June 9th.
Thank you. Nikki?
Thank you. My opening move to my closing. Thank you again to the League of Women Voters and AARP of North Dakota for hosting. Thank you sincerely to those of you that are taking your time to attend and to listen online after the fact or at home. I appreciate your interest and engagement because this election determines the direction Fargo will move from here. My focus as once elected will be safety, not just downtown, but in the metro. Affordability, focus on bringing costs down for our residents, and changes and efficiencies at City Hall. An example could be reviewing, updating, or creating policies, empowering staff to make some routine decisions that wouldn't need to come to commission. Come June 9th, my plea is that you come out and vote. And tell your neighbors, when you look at that ballot, vote Nikki Gullickson as one of your next commissioners. Thank you.
Thank you. Aaron?
Thank you as well to the League of Women Voters and AARP. And I did this at another forum. I want to thank everybody up here as well, because all of us have raised our hand and said, yeah, I'll put myself out there. As Derek said, 4 years ago when I did this for Park District, I had never been so nervous. You know, you're putting yourself out there. It's your name. It's your reputation. And normally, when you get elected and you're in the seat, you're asking the questions and you're trying to get information. You're not getting grilled. So this is pretty stressful. But I've had a chance to meet with everybody one-on-one, not because creating alliances, but just to try to get to know everybody, because it's about relationships and it's about people. And right now, we have an issue with our city leadership, and there's a lot of bickering and fighting, and there's not a lot of unity. And I think we need leaders that can bring people together that are going to do what's best for Fargo. And if it's not me and it's somebody else, that's all I want. I want what is best for Fargo. We have a great opportunity, and I would ask for your vote on June 9th. Thank you.
Thank you. Anna?
Yeah, thanks for having us. I really appreciate being here. Third time's the charm, guide. For real, third time's the charm. I'm not going to tell you guys why I think you should vote for me. What I want to say is to vote. We have had the lowest turnouts for voting these last couple election cycles, as you guys might know, and we need everybody to go out and vote, and bring your friends and bring your family and your cousin and your brother and your uncle. Everybody needs to vote, and that is all I'm going to say. And thank you guys so much for coming, and thanks to the League of Women, and thanks to all of these wonderful people next to me.
Thank you. Chad?
Thanks to everyone in the room. I realize local elections are incredibly important. I don't think we pay enough attention to them. My basic messaging is this: proven leadership, back to basics. I've owned businesses for decades. I volunteered on boards, committees, commissions, panels, nonprofits for decades prior to my election for 12 years. Served at the Cass County Courthouse for 3 terms. I left it well-run and fiscally sound. We have good team members at that courthouse. We have no debt. We have a AAA bond rating. Back to basics. The city of Fargo's mission creep has gotten a little bit out of control. We need to start constraining what we do. We need to focus on what local government, in this particular case, what City Hall should do. We still need partnerships with the courthouse. We still need partnerships with other counties, our friends across the river and Clay. We still need partnerships with our friends in Bismarck and DC. But the reality of this is the fiscal circumstances we're presented with right now should be forcing us to withdraw back, get our fiscal house in order, and when we do, then we can then proceed on to all the other things that you wish us to be doing. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Jeremy?
I just want to say, appreciate everybody being here and anyone watching online. You know, you only get to say so much about yourself in 2 minutes, so I just want to go ahead and add in. I'm basically newly married as about 6-7 months. We got our first baby coming next month too. It'll be a girl, so that's exciting. Get to be a girl dad. You don't need to clap. So I've worked 8.5 years in shipping and receiving, so, you know, blue collar work, and interesting enough, I've actually transitioned now into, you know, selling and installing window tint too, so that's kind of funny. But honestly, at the end of the day, I really want to do this for y'all. You know, this is something I wanted to do, so I should really kind of put me at the forefront of being elected to go ahead and do this. So within doing all that, I've had the chance to, you know, converse with basically all demographics of Fargo, so I'm quite confident in my ability to have conversations and put my leadership skill forward. And even if I don't win, I already know I'm going to promise you I will have the most amount of young voters turn out this election. Thank you.
Thank you. This concludes our forum tonight. We will be back tomorrow night where we have candidate forums for the Fargo Park Board and the Fargo School Board. We hope to see a number of you again. I want to again thank the AARP of North Dakota, all the League of Women Voters volunteers, the City of Fargo as well, and especially all of the candidates. As was mentioned by one of the candidates, you all do step up and you serve our democracy with your time and your effort, even if you don't win that election, and we thank you for it. So if everybody could give him a round of applause.